put a hole through the wall, connected it to the old JC building, and with the help of the volunteers, a lot of them from the theater, we stripped that JC building. We just actually stripped it. And then Kevin and Dwayne came in there and did a marvelous job of putting that thing together. It's a beautiful facility next to that theater. We had talked a long time about not having a door between the two. It was a passageway. We wanted people in the theater to know that we didn't want them to walk down the stairs. We didn't want them to walk across the street. We wanted them to go through this passageway for those restrooms that were now into the community center. And we just changed that only because we felt like we didn't want people in the community center to go to the theater. You know, that was another liability problem. It's not fair to the people working in the theater to have people in their facility and have easy access to it. So we did put a door in. But the whole intention of that was to have the library or the theater people have readily access to the restrooms. Okay, no lock, period. But there would be a lock for people that rented the community center to go into the theater. Does that make sense with you guys? Yeah. That is totally opposite of the way it is right now. Totally opposite. The lock is on the theater side, and there's no lock on the community center. I think whoever put that on there made a mistake. Went down and took that door, put the lock on the wrong side. Okay, that needs to be changed. And I hope if it takes a motion from the council to get that changed, it needs to be changed. And I think immediately, why have it the way it is? If somebody has a community center, they rent that, they can walk into the theater. I don't think that's what you want to have happen. Okay. And I also think this, that, we have some people at the theater, a lot of people new to our community, by the way. It's almost a sign of disrespect to turn around and say, yeah, here's the theater, but you're going to have to figure out how to get through this door because those restrooms that were set up for you, for your theater, have a lock on them. And so I would hope that the council would see that just needs to be reversed. And it could be reversed easily, I guess. Again, I think it was a mistake when they put it on in the first place. Someone just didn't know for sure which side to put the lock on. And that needs to be changed. I also have on here because of the community center, and I would like to comment on it a little bit if I could. The community center is not user friendly. You can almost ask anybody that uses it, they will tell you it is not a user friendly facility. Beautiful facility, okay? I came in here a year ago and didn't beg, but I should have, to get a rack for chairs and a rack for tables. You guys remember that? Right. So what the hell happened to that? Did we buy a rack for the chairs and the tables?
Can I answer that, John? I think it was decided that the floors are too soft, the current flooring. And I think the issue is eventually we need to upgrade that flooring, not just for that reason, but am I the only one that remembers that?
Yeah, the floor was too soft.
The floor is very soft, so to pull those out. So I don't think it's not in the future of it, but I think first we'd have to come up with funds to replace the flooring.
Thank you. So going back to that concept, okay, when I say user friendly, I think it's really, really difficult for people to take those tables, hold them up, pack them all the way into that little area that you put them in, and the chairs, okay? That and my concern is that I don't know why they couldn't be left out. Okay, so now let's just talk about the community center again and the contract that people signed to use it. If I wanted to go in the community center with my basketball team, okay, with their mom and dad, we're gonna have a dessert in there. According to the form that I'd have to sign, I'd have to pay liability insurance, which is about $170.
No.
What?
You're wrong.
Has that been changed?
You only have to have liability insurance if you have more than 50 people there. Most people's homeowners insurance covers that. So
But the contract says What,
If you have more than 50 people,
you must have,
then you should have liability insurance.
no, you must have,
And people's homeowner insurance normally covers that
if they want to use it.
if they have a large event.
Okay, is that in that contract?
That their homeowner's insurance covers that? I don't know, I didn't write the contract.
I think it says in there that you must have liability insurance,
I
by
think it-
50,000.
You're right about that.
All right.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I had concerns about. It says in that contract that if I want to go out and set up, it's for kids, okay, $10. But if I want to go up the day before and set up the chairs, it's another $75. And it says in there, if I want to clean up the next day, it's another $75. And I'm just saying, I just think that it's not what I consider user friendly. You know, somebody might want to come in the next day and clean it up. Okay?
That was decided that was okay some time ago.
I think this has been here for a long time. Don't get me wrong. It's not this council that getting.
No, I mean, the council decided a while back, I'm not sure if it was
About 4
sometime
years
within the
ago.
sometime in the last year or so, that maybe year and a half, that people can come in
Okay, so it's
like
changed.
2
You have it-
hours the next
It's in the
day.
contract different now then.
If they need to, like if they're gonna.
Okay,
give
but the
it-
contract's different now than it was.
I don't know that the contract is different, but that is allowed.
Okay.
We let people know that.
Well, I think probably that contract should state that rather than making exceptions or say, you know what I'm saying? If you're gonna make changes in
Yes,
that
I do
contract.
understand, but I don't have a copy of that right in front of me to reference right now, so I really can't have a good discussion.
Okay, well, you don't do, because I'm just, okay. But I had a copy in front of me, so I know that it says that, okay? But that doesn't, my point is this, okay? That contract needs to be studied by a committee and maybe some of that needs to be eliminated, better explained. If you're doing things differently, and which is wonderful, okay? Then get rid of it. Don't have it in there. If the way I read that was if I want to bring my basketball team in there, is that the school's liability insurance or my liability insurance? And who signs off on that? And I'm assuming that when they sign off on that, they tell you what insurance company it is, because I think they have to do that. I don't know if that's necessary or not.
I don't think you have 50 kids on your basketball team.
You know, a lot of times,
If it's under that, then you. then you don't have to
okay,
have
but a lot of times when you have a dessert, okay, we invite their parents.
Okay.
Right? You coached a little bit, is that not?
Certainly.
You certainly is. Okay, if you have 17 kids, you might have over 50.
You mean? Okay.
Okay, so I'm just saying this, it doesn't have to say that, I don't think. If it does, it should be brought out differently.
Okay.
My recommendation to the council, okay, is that rather than having the city be the ones that have the walkthrough, which created a problem, a year ago in here, that a council member be assigned that, just like somebody's assigned to the airport, somebody assigned to the golf course, you know, whatever. And that person be the one that does a walkthrough both before and after. I think that would, less things for the city to have to worry about. And I think people in town would react and relate better to somebody on the council and a walkthrough both before and after. So I'm making that recommendation. And then again, I think a committee should take a look at this contract, maybe make some, cross out some things, add some things, send it to Eric, make sure that it's, you know, legal, you know, and makes sense, you know. But right now, I just don't think people are using it for a variety of reasons because it is not user friendly. Okay? So I would like the council to change that door today, okay? And I would like the council to maybe really look at the possibility of having a council member be the one that is sort of in charge of the community center for to make sure it's clean before and after and all that. Because I do think the people in the community would appreciate that. Okay? Thank you.
So can we, since this is on the agenda, so can we address first, is changing that lock a big issue?
Go ahead, yes, ma'am, and you're gonna.
It locks, like I said, it locks from the community center side, but the door knob locks from the theater side. And if that is not the case, then it is on backwards. But the intent is that people like the people on the theater board, they have the code to the door, they have the little thing that opens it. They can do that. And they can get people in and out during their events. That's not a problem. The problem has been that we've had unauthorized people in the community center. We've had problems because of that, because of cleaning issues, et cetera. We actually had a theater group come in and use it without permission of the theater and beyond their understanding. And then they got charged for using the community center. You know, so that's why it's there. And the people at the theater have the ability to open that door anytime they want.
That's not quite true, but
It
they could.
is true.
Sorry,
There's a code and there's a little fob. I
And they all
literally saw somebody use it today.
I know, and they all have the code.
The theater,
No,
People have
I
the
hear they all have the code, right?
No,
that, I
Not
don't know if they
necessarily.
have told everyone or not,
But
but
they
they,
not
don't.
necessarily.
but
No,
they
they
have a little fob, so they don't have to remember a code. They can get in there.
But I don't think you want people in the community center to walk through the theater.
You're
If
right.
they lock
Okay.
You're
the
right.
doorknob, people from the community center cannot get into the theater unless that's on backwards.
Would
It
you-
is.
would- could you-
Because
could you-
otherwise
could you
the
read that,
code
please?
part is
Okay, thank you.
not,
I just don't think it's that big of a deal to flip that.
Well, I don't think it's a process of flipping it. I think there's a process in place that both sides can lock to the other people, or both sides can unlock to the other person. Okay, so if there's a theater production and they need access to the bathrooms, then we will certainly unlock that door for them.
they can unlock it themselves.
And they can unlock it themselves. If there's something in the, for instance, we've got the gal coming in for the dance. Okay, we certainly don't want that door open to the theater, correct? Right, so that's locked. And I've been in both cases. I grabbed the theater door from the community center and it's been locked. It will happen. It does happen. Now, normally when there's an event, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, normally they will let us know that they need it unlocked.
Okay,
But it's when we don't know there's an event,
Yeah.
if there's just people hanging around or whatever, maybe they got a meeting. Okay, that door didn't need to be unlocked.
you can do what you want to do. I'm just saying, just the committee, this theater committee, we need to appreciate people. That, it's nice to have the theater, okay? But if you didn't have a committee that spent hours down there to make that theater alive, okay, we'd be in a world of hurt, okay? And so if these people in the theater would like to have that door open, so they can just walk through, I see no problem unless you think that they're going to do something to this community center, which I know they won't. But
the thing that can be concerned is when doors are unlocked both ways, one way or the other, or whatever, and things come up missing, which don't look away, which has happened. We've had things missing and found out, yep, somebody borrowed a table. Okay, so this just creates a better relationship, that if they have to make sure that they go through the proper channels to get access, then we know who's involved. But if anybody can walk in, then you're never sure.
I would think
This policy, the rental policy, has been probably worked over and reworked probably about 4 or 5 times. And we've taken templates from other cities, from other organizations, and used suggestions. Robin, when Wendy Zigdine was on, I believe was the last time it got seriously overhauled. Now, I've got a couple notes here as you're going, what's interesting, the door between the two there is a door there because it's a fire door. Okay, there is a reason why that door has got to be there. It's a fireproof door. Okay, so that in the event of a fire in one place is helpful to prevent fire from getting across the other way. If I remember right, John, I think you were mayor when we started this whole process. I remember going down and looking at it with you and trying to figure out if this could work or not. And if I remember right, you were on the council when we were addressing a lot of these issues that we are right here.
I was a mayor when we were doing this, but at the time, I sort of think that we had water and sewer and street problems that took priority. And now I'm just thinking, maybe this is a good time to let a committee take a look at this thing, a committee of community members, and say, okay, how can this be so you would be more apt to use it? And have them put their thoughts on it, let Eric take a look to see what the problem is. I just think that if you're gonna have a facility like that, people should feel free to use it. You know, it's theirs.
We had a conversation, it's been a year or two ago, when we got into the weeds on people not getting their deposit back because maybe it hadn't been cleaned correctly, and I bounced it off of, I'm not sure how deep it went, but I bounced it off about having a council member taking the staff out of going up there and previewing it before somebody gets it, and then looking at it afterwards.
So why can't that just be a council member?
We talked about it.
Okay, good.
And we, I don't know that I presented it in front of the council,
Oh.
but I bounced it off of, I think it was the staff, and is how far that would work. And we haven't just, it had kind of, I shouldn't say calmed down, but we hadn't had any real conversations about it lately. So thank you for bringing that up. We'll certainly look at it.
John, question. Is the theater people frustrated that they can't get into the community center?
Well, they didn't, I guess they could come down here and ask for the combination and, but I think they were surprised to begin with that there was a lock on that door and they didn't know why. You know, and they should probably came to that would be another reason to have a council member being a liaison between the theater and this right here, so that I see in your agenda that they have, roof problems and they're looking to raise $8,000 to fix the roof. Was that in your newsletter?
Not mine.
Oh, I think so. Was it in there? Anyway,
Somebody's newsletter at some point.
well, I think, okay,
It may have been the theater put that in. I
Yeah, they did.
didn't put it in my part.
no, they did. But I'm just saying, Pete, that'd been a good thing for a council member to come to the council and say, we've got a roof that's leaking, okay? And maybe that should be a problem that this group could help resolve along and not just dump it on the theater people. Because they were the ones that were gonna try to raise $8,000 to fix it. I think they've done it less expensively than that. I think they've done it, but,
John,
Yeah.
just a side note to that, there was an insurance claim submitted on that roof repair without any knowledge of this council. Had we known about it, we could have paid for it. As a result, our insurance properties are gonna probably go up.
Which is maybe all the more reason that
Yeah.
we should have a liaison.
Right.
I
Yeah,
don't
I'm not
know,
arguing that, but I'm just
yeah,
saying.
so,
Yeah.
yeah,
If there's a damage, the theater people need to come to us.
yeah, for sure.
yeah, oh, yeah, I know, yeah.
So just.
I agree with that, and I think that's a good idea. That would be another reason for that person here, or whoever's on there, to inform the council on what's going on. That theater and the community center are two important facilities we have in our community. And there's not a lot of communication between those people and the council.
So, Liza, who's on that now? I know that there was a council member that signed that. Do you have that
A
list
long
now?
time ago.
It's been quite some time. I don't think there's anybody.
We need to investigate that. I go along with it.
Or somebody volunteer here that would like to do it.
But as an aside, the theater had the combination to that door and the little fob to get in there almost as soon as it was completed. So they've had the combination and the fob from the very beginning.
All right, so I just talked to somebody that
And
wasn't aware of it.
where's this Bob?
It's in the theater.
Theater has it all the
Yeah,
time.
they have it all the time.
And the code doesn't change anything?
So if I may jump in real quick, one thing, John, that theater gets used a lot by the school and school groups. That door, the theater needs to be able to lock that door. It's pretty tough when you're up there with the kids and stuff. You've got to be able to lock it.
Which door now?
They need to lock it so the kids can't just get over into the
Community center.
community center. They have to be able to lock
Okay.
it. So whether the matter is, and then like Eliza said, another group got over there and the theater didn't know and it cost them money. So that sounds like some things that maybe a council liaison could work with them, in communication. You're totally right, Mike, they need to come back to us. The second thing is, as a council member, you know, as far as going and checking people in and out, I'd be willing to be part of a group of it, but I don't think it should fall entirely necessarily on the city or entirely on the council. Everybody, if there's a lot of high usage and it's tough for somebody from the office to get up there and yeah, have a few of us council members as backups and that we would help you do it. But one or two of us all the time, I think it'd be really good and healthy for us to work together on it. Then we're more aware of what it takes for you, because we assume like, oh, it's just going up there, it's just doing a checklist. There's probably more involved at times, especially if there is damage and there are things there. So we have to have some consideration for what you guys are going through, and I think that would be a good thing for some of us to do that on a regular basis. We're all busy and everything, so could you maybe work this into?
It'd be a
or-
suggestion that the person that checks them in checks them out.
Yeah, I think that would be good, and then maybe the first couple of times, have a couple of us who are willing to do it, go up with you or Nikki or whoever it is that goes up there, walk through a couple times, see what the routine is, and then you have a group of 3 or 4 of us that could be called upon to help with the situation. That would be my suggestion.
So my thing is on that, and John brings up a lot of good ideas on this, and so maybe this should be on the agenda for the next council meeting, so we start doing something.
Right.
Instead of just tabling this thing, 4 months later it comes up again. So I think it needs to be on the agenda for next council meeting, and maybe more, is we start looking at what needs to be corrected.
I agree.
Well, is there any council member that would currently be willing to be a liaison to that?
I
would.
I got
I
time
would.
too, so Marge and I can do it.
You know, that's one thing that if you had somebody on the council that was aware of the floor and the reason why you couldn't get those racks, you guys made that decision in here, okay? But you'll never let anybody else know that.
Well, I have a feeling if you look through meeting minutes, it's probably in there. It
Oh,
seems
yeah.
like we discussed it, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
know, there's a lot of stuff, things get lost.
Communication.
Yeah, so that would seal up some communication.
I mean,
So can we do that for the next council meeting then, Jeff?
we could, and we could.
Well,
establish-
could we just go ahead and nominate you two for now as a liaison, and then you guys can get in touch with them? So I'd like to nominate Dave and Marge to be liaisons to the,
I would suggest the first couple times you guys go together each time, for both of them. You know, I'm just sitting there being devil's advocate, I could just see this. Mike walks in there and says, yep, it's good to go, and Dan walks in there the next 2 days later to open it up for somebody, and he looks at it and goes, man, this is Mike's idea of good to go, this is Dan's idea. Do you understand? That was the one great thing about having one person do it. When they approved it, it was good, and then they knew it was on them if the next people went in and said, man, it wasn't clean.
Well, let's do it for now and see how it
well,
works out.
wait, hang on a second, Matt, maybe I was misunderstanding. I was thinking of you guys being the liaison to the theater people, that you're in
Okay.
contact with them.
Okay, you're,
So that's separate, that's
Sure.
my motion, and then
Okay.
maybe the next time we talk more about a group of us and how we wanna work that out, being involved in helping to check people in and out, that would be separate from what
Okay,
they're
all right.
doing. What, is that?
so
does that make
Dave,
sense?
you're gonna be a liaison?
Mhm.
Okay.
And Mark?
Do we need to vote on it, or just? appoint?
No,
I just want me.
you're
We
just,
can,
So you're both gonna do it to start?
but David, I do think we ought to put it on the agenda. Maybe this maybe raise it to form a committee with the chairman, so we can keep, covers both entities. We just put that on the agenda and look at that as a solution, because John makes some good points, and so does the, mayor makes some good points. But clearly there's a problem if John's concerned, about getting in and getting out, and it's not user friendly, whatever the feeling is. I do think that probably raises it to a committee level, so we can maybe get some liaison, also some solutions in there. And that was unfortunate like that. And that's another reason we need more action in there, that the theater would turn a liability claim in when it's not even their building. And that's a very good point. And that's, again, another reason why, committee.
That's just a miscommunication,
Could,
but yeah, that needs to be addressed for the future.
I don't know, Pete, the only thing is like our other groups, they run themselves, the parks and others, they run themselves, they have city property, they're in charge of it. And then we have a liaison who communicates, but if by forming another committee, are we kind of like stepping on their toes? I don't know, I think we were good to start with this, but continue the discussions about how to check people in and out and address any other issues that are coming up. And then if we need to do more,
I'd like to look at it again in 2 weeks because we had established committees on so many things years ago. You remember that, David, there were committees that, you name it, that were there. They didn't necessarily step on toes that represented the city. And that's what we're trying to do. I'm trying to take it over.
And they need to be updated every year because we got a change in people and everything since then.
No,
So
no.
that needs to be brought forward again. Who's who and who's doing what. So we need to look into that too.
Okay, all right, put her to that. Okay, surplus property resolution.
Oh, I can speak of that. Still working on that right now. I'm working on getting the legal description for the old city hall building. I did get the legal description for the old, I think it was an old shop building. There's a legal description I had. And the resolution I wrote up for it had as a sealed bid, but my understanding is the old shop building, the Liza reminded me it's gonna be direct sale to the tenants in there. And the old city hall building is gonna go up for a sealed bid. So long story short, I just need one more legal description, and then by next meeting, I should have 2 resolutions for the council to consider in surplusing and disposing of those properties.
Thank you. Questions, guys? All right, perfect. C, Century West final SWSMP invoice approval, and she can say what that means.
So the small water system management program update, we moved that contract from Century West to community engineering and consulting with Matt Worker. So this is the final bill from Century West. And the court does pay for all of this because this is that project out of the industrial park.
That's a lot of money.
It is.
I did think about it.
They've been busy.
Yeah.
They've been busy. I'm privy to the emails going back and forth between, they're running around and there's a lot there. So
when is Century West going to make their,
next meeting, he's in conversation with them last week. Right. At this point, I'll accept the motion to approve the invoice approval.
I make the motion, we make approve your Century West
I'll second
small
it.
system water plan.
I'll second that.
Second, any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes, thank you. Okay, annual report review. Trees were dying as we were talking. So. Anybody got any observations, questions?
Looked at it.
well, I've tried to look on it on my phone, and so that's why I asked if they were gonna get a copy here. So I guess I was hoping Eliza could kind of walk us through what, let me make sure I understand the process. So this goes into the auditor's office in May, right? And then did they review it and give any suggestions or feedback on it?
The auditors do not, they cannot.
Okay,
So you can ask them all the questions that, you have, but they can't just review it and tell you what to do.
okay.
We are still waiting on our final review from Springbrook for this. So when I have that, I'll make those revisions and then you'll send around the approval sheet. But since I don't have that yet, I don't want you to try to approve something that might be changed a little bit. So the beginning pages are, first of all, you have to understand that it looks like there's only a few funds because every fund that's under sewer, for instance, gets rolled up, like sewer usually gets rolled up into sewer, and the sewer debt service fund gets rolled up into sewer, same with water. So anything that has a reserve gets rolled up into its kind of parent fund. We just break it out for our own ease of understanding. If you look at the first column, then you can see the totals for all the funds. And the ending total was $1,437,168. The beginning cash and investments for the year were $1,299,865. So our net worth went up about $137,000. And then really it just goes to the other funds. Yes, ma'am.
What contributed to our revenues going up, do you think?
Well, part of it is just that we budget conservatively, right? And so we hope that at the end of the year, we actually have more money in our budget than what we budgeted for.
Do grants or things contribute to that? Not that we have,
Not
because there's no
really,
COVID
because
money.
they're really in and out. So if you it might inflate your overall numbers, but it won't inflate your beginning and ending numbers. Because if you get $750,000 this year to pay for your sewer grant, you're also spending $750,000 this year to pay for your sewer grant. So it's pretty rare that you have carryover. It happens, but it's pretty rare that it carries over from year to year. So,
So does the fact that we didn't spend much money on the streets this year, does that contribute to that amount of money?
it would, yeah. So this year, if you did spend anything from the street levy fund, then that's gonna show up in that total ending cash and investments. And then it'll be the beginning cash and investments for next year. It might look like you're losing money a little bit next year because you're spending 2 years worth of streets or something, but it fluctuates a little bit, but overall the trend has been that we're getting a little bit more cushion each year, particularly because we're building, for the sewer plant. So
Yeah, the
that's
sewer plants.
reasonable.
There's additional monies adding to that
Yeah,
too.
because we set aside more this last year, so that's adding to that.
Right. This is not that is still in these numbers. That's why yes, exactly. So sorry.
So when we say we have surplus, but it's surplus, but some of it's earmarked.
Most of it's earmarked.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can see, like, for instance, we had big projects in water last year, because we had a couple of major water projects. So we, just looking at the different ones, we had miscellaneous, or total revenues for water, 316,000. Total expenditures were 230,000, which left us with 86. But then you look further down the column, and we have to make a $115,000 payment to the USDA every year. So totally, because we spent money on those other water projects, we started the year at 316,000, we ended at 283. Because water reserves are part of that water fund. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me.
Are the grants reflected in these line items at all? Grants coming in, grants coming out, are they, say we get a $750,000 grant, is that listed in the assets and then down later on the liability, is that listed anywhere in this budget?
Let me think about that. I'm sure they are. Because, like, for instance, under the sewer fund, if you look down at the very bottom, it talks about, we've got capital expenditures, so I guess it's not quite at the very bottom, $636,180. Those are grant monies. So, does that help answer your question?
It does, I know that it's important, it is, you're right, they're in and out.
Yeah.
But I know that a lot of the places, the grants are considered an asset and liability, of course, they're spent it out, and so.
Right. And
How was
that
some
was,
reflected?
yeah, that was one of the big things in the audit. They had to help me understand how they wanted to see those monies reflected as a liability immediately, even though you're not actually paying them back for several years. They want it to, as soon as you get it, they want it to be a liability, even though it doesn't show up in your debt payments for
I know
sometimes a
that,
couple of years.
I showed community action for, most of our grants, and the whole budget was grant oriented, and we had to track them all in a spreadsheet, and it was a nightmare because every agency was checking on everything. But we had to track every cent on every grant, and it was really a lot of fun.
Grants are a lot of work to maintain, a lot.
Big time. Health department had $1 million grants, and then one reason or the other, somebody taking over, let them all go away, and they ended up, instead of $1 million grant, $100,000 grant. So they, if you don't watch them and maintain them, you're right, they go away.
Well, and then the following pages are, literally all the different line items. So you can go through and see exactly what was income and exactly what was expenditure. So if, where it says bars account in the middle, if it starts with a 3, that is income. If it starts with a 5, that's an expenditure. So I don't expect you guys to get every single thing tonight, but if you can go home and look at something and you're wondering what that is, that's gonna help you quite a lot, just to know what you're looking at. After all the line items, you'll see this figure that's oriented the other direction. That's the bank account reconciliations. So actually, it's kind of fun. Well, if you're okay.
So Liza has one.
You can see the beginning cash and investment balance, the $1,299,866. Well, is exactly the same as the beginning balance on the first page. First line, first page. And then the ending balance, $1,437,166. It's exactly the same as the last line on the first page in that same column. So, and when you look at today, I just glanced up real quickly, thinking what would be questions that you guys might have. That interbank transfers in and interbank transfers out. Those are interfund transfers. So the money that's going from the general fund to the airport fund or history fund, that's you can just see, that it's interbank transfers in on one line and interbank transfers out on another kind of thing, and that kind of help you. And also, you can see where money has been moved from, like for the bonds, so like there's a straight $100,000 here, like interbank transfer in and interbank transfer out. That's because we had one bond turnover last year. So, the next set of information is the schedule of liabilities. So you can see where we are, like where we started, with the beginning balance, what additions were, so extra debt that we took on, what the reductions were, the debt that we paid, and where we ended the year. So you can see our USD water loan, we pay $115,000 every year on that, and our principal payments are up to about $52,000 now. But our big numbers last year were the influent lift station, just where we took on the most debt.
So Liza, am I correct that the ending balance here is $4,340,000? So
Yes.
it did, I'm trying to remember, we just recently, we had one that we paid off recently, right? Because it was over $5 million.
Yes.
Like around budget time or something last
Right.
year.
Yep, and we'll pay off another one here, hopefully next year. Maybe 2028 is I think our next big one to pay off.
So somebody asked me recently, like, what it has made up all of our debt. Of course, the lift station, as you said, has increased it, but just, so
Sure, yeah.
what are some of these other things we're still paying off?
You bet. So the USDA water loan is the big one. That was, we started the year with a beginning balance of $2,280,540 and had the year end with $2,228,159. So every year it's getting, a few more thousand that gets paid off with each payment.
It was probably the Hinkle Street project. Correct.
I don't know, I'm guessing at that because I wasn't here when that
They did
was taken out.
major rework up on that end of town.
And then the Department of Ecology sewer line replacement, is $248,000 to begin the year with, $228,000 to end the year with. So that's another 12-ish years, 11-ish, 10, 11, 12 years. And of course, the inflow lift station. The planning for the wastewater treatment plant last year, we only, of the 150,000, 75,000 each is for forgivable loan and loan. So half of it's loan. So we got $3,314 more in debt. We have to count all of our payments as 100% loan until it's done, and then they say, okay, well, half of this you don't have to pay back. So that was another.
Are we paying interest on that though? And so if they don't have to pay, does that take into consideration the interest we paid in the process? Or not, I'm not.
They do start charging interest, but not on the forgivable loan portion. Okay, and then we paid, well, pension liabilities, that is calculated using formulas from like the Department of Retirement Systems and all of the different pensions that we are, looking at. And so we actually have a liability of $33,214, but our reductions are considered $10,204 because that's what the city paid in total last year. But it leaves us with an ending balance of $23,010. And I think that's for our left one officer.
Ron Anderson.
I think so. I could look into that because I would have to look into that. It might even be explained here a little bit further on, but
I'm sure it is. I know.
OPEB liabilities, other post-employment benefit liabilities. Those are also, these big numbers are based on total liability for like the big picture of the pensions. So those are calculated by the state actuary's office, and I just have to use their numbers. So, if there are some things that, like for instance, they don't consider there to be any liability for anymore, unless people were to live a lot longer than they expected them to. So, anyhow, I can dig more of the stuff out if you're really interested in all of that, but the Public Works Trust Fund loan, that is also sewer work, and I believe that's the one that's gonna be done in 2028. It's the second to last one. It's PWTF. That had a beginning balance of 34,000 plus a little, and then a reduction of close to 7,000. So I'm pretty sure this is the one done in 2028. And we're now required to list things like copier leases. So over the life of our copier, this is how much we expect to pay on it.
So are there two copiers? This is up at the top too.
Yes, so we had two different copiers because we had one and then we switched in the middle of the year. And so one of them went away and one of them came in. And the non-human adult that you can see there's much more liability for, that's the new one, because we have now like a 5 or 6 year lease on it. And then the Canon with Fisher one at the top, we started with a beginning balance of $1,454 and a total reduction because we have no longer.
Oh, I see.
So it's liability then.
Okay.
Okay,
Is there, all these loans, I'm sure, are, do you have any idea what the average interest rate we're paying on these loans?
I don't know what the average rate is. I know on like the USDA water loan, I'm pretty sure that's less than 2%. The Department of Ecology loans are usually less than 2%. They're just big and they're long.
Right.
So you still wind up paying quite a bit of interest over time.
Is there, I'm not seeing, is there a place that lists how much interest we are paying like per year?
Not on this sheet, no, because it's just the principal reductions.
Is there a ballpark amount that you think, how much interest do you think we pay ballpark on?
I could not even guess.
I don't think you wanna know, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You know, I mean, like, obviously on the loans that are getting close to the end, the numbers are much smaller, but like the influent lift station, that's a lot. It's gonna be primarily interest for a
Just
while.
like your house payment.
I mean, you have 4 million plus as in liabilities, and you're paying all interest on all of it. I can only imagine, even at 2%, that's a large amount.
Substantial.
Yeah, substantial amount.
So that, what you're saying, Pete, is that, so when we look at that 4,349,000, that's not taking into account the interest?
No, the reductions are not taking into account the interest paid. So,
I think that the more you were trying to get to there, is that second page also?
the next page is not liabilities. It's, we have to show all that we spent on our grants. So this is what we spent, even if we were completely reimbursed for it, we still spent this, so that's part of our reporting. So we had projects from TIB, the Willard Field design, the runway construction, just barely started last year, the bidding process, and then the wastewater treatment plant, we just spent that 3,314 last year.
Is there,
And these are state grants, by the way.
with this amount of, is there a limit how much debt a city can get into, they say?
Well, the kind of debt that the state auditor's office really doesn't like is kind of general debt. The debt that, there is a limit, so it's a good question. But because the vast majority of our debt is income-based debt, they look at that very differently.
So what would be an example of something they would, like you said, general debt, what would be an example of that?
If you were buying a fleet of new trucks, they would not like that. There's no income, that associated with that. So you know, if you have maybe 1 or 2 trucks for a city of our size that you are buying over a 5-year period or 6-year period or something, that would probably work out okay for our different ratios. But if we had 10 new trucks, right, they're not gonna look at that favorably because there's nothing to feed that except for our general fund. Or maybe depending if it's a sewer truck or water truck, or, you know, that type of thing. But, well, sewer truck or water truck then is still not, it's associated with an income earning fund, but it's not a capital asset, it depreciates over time in a different way. So,
That makes sense. Okay.
So I suspect that income from taxes, I don't know if they probably at some point, is that factor, look at all your assets coming in, your taxes being paid, your cash flow. Does that play a role in, so you're looking at a loan, not a general than buying trucks, I get that.
Yeah.
That would be troublesome. So does that have any factor on that? They look at you and say, you're getting $20,000 a month in revenue, and you're asking for all these loans. Does that play a role in any of this?
well, you need to be able to demonstrate that you can meet all of your obligations.
Okay, there we are.
So, and we do that in our water fund and our sewer fund. And those are our revenue generating funds, and that's where our debt is.
Yes, and
Yeah.
that's the big concern with all this going on, which when you overlay maybe a $10 million sewer plant, which we've all talked about, I wonder how that fits into it. Is that speculation? I wonder how we know what we have here. I wonder how that's all gonna fit in.
So if we wind up having to pay, say, 5 million of that, which is a possible figure,
Sure.
then we have to be able to demonstrate that the rates that we charge will cover those loan payments and our other sewer payments.
Right. Which, and we talked about this before, and we talked about that at the retreat, about rates for water and sewer. You know, that maybe we're falling behind on that. We've raised it some, but knowing where our goal is, for cash flow and for income coming in, I'm wondering if we're falling behind on what we're charging. That's the question.
I'm not sure because the
Or
last
no.
time we saw Century West, their estimates were less than what they originally had presented to us. I think their most expensive option was around, they estimated at around $10 million. Is that ringing a
It's
bell?
pretty close,
I think it was.
Well, yeah, it was really a very, like it here.
It's
Yeah,
big. It's a little bit big.
But if that was, the option that the council voted on, and then, depending what will happen, because we're a year further back than we thought we would be, then we'll have to sit down with all the different funding agencies and, Department of Ecology, if we meet the hardship levels, which is why the rates have to go up, right?
Right.
Then, we can get 50%, forgivable loan up to $5 million. But if we meet the hardship levels, then also other agencies like CDBG, Community Block Grant. It's close, but I'm not sure, yeah,
Community block.
thank you. They might be able to also fund us like up to another $1 million. And then there's some like rural funding agencies, so like all of those people will come to the table next year. So hopefully we'll be able to get more than half of our sewer plant covered and, not looking as good as it was to be a line item on the state budget, but we can also, apply to our national level legislators, even to be a line item on the federal budget. Which then those become federal dollars, so that has to be accounted for differently, but still, we are still the poster child for why infrastructure dollars are out there, right? So,
No question about it. I know that timing is everything on how much you get, how much reimbursement you get. I know on the trestle, if we had been 6 months later, we would have gotten nothing. We made it just under the wire. They haven't approved it, they've been gone.
so, one of the things that has been happening of late is becoming more aware of some funding sources for rural systems, rural towns in general, so continuing to look for those.
The knowledge of that comes from where? 'Cause I talked to Joe Schmicky at there. It was not very encouraging or helpful with really, like, he just said, well, all the towns are in the same situation. So there must be somebody else we can go talk to that has knowledge of who can help our small towns.
Right,
because
well,
he was-
your engineers are really good resources because they are working with all of the different funders on different projects. But also, what is the name of the group that Jody will come with?
So rural water, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, which they come to different regional meetings and things, and they'll try to make themselves known. And that's partly how you find out about who people are.
Is that what this meeting in the fall that we talked about you going to?
Right,
Is that-
except for we're not ready for it because the plan is a year behind now.
RCAC is part of that too.
Right, okay. So, but anyhow, there are, funding agencies I didn't know about, and you probably are an expert on those, so.
Jody's was Partners for Rural Washington.
So,
So they're more specialized groups that probably our representatives wouldn't necessarily work with on a day by day, so.
right,
The engineers are your main point for us.
Yeah.
And then you go in as a group, and then you talk to all these funding agencies, and they see if they want to lend you any money. See if you're on the priority list.
or
That's what I
grants,
do.
yeah. Any questions on the state grants?
Oh, I have a question. I talked to Mike about it over today, only I didn't have an answer. Mike didn't either because I'm not sure it has an answer. Are we we saw it on the waterfront, pretty much. I
Oh,
know
yeah.
we had a lot of expenditures on it, and
Yeah.
it came down to, we saw it on waterfront.
Yes, so that's,
We've got a good balance there, I mean.
yeah, we do. You have to always remember that 115,000 of it we can't spend.
Right.
But our ending balance was $283,417 for water. You know, we don't like to spend more than we take in, but some years you just have to get into reserves for different things that are happening. And that was last year for water.
I mean, water's a huge thing, but I'm real mentioning that, and you can see the revenue and the expenditures. Yet again, how much are you paying on water per month? How much?
I believe it's $47.50 for base fee, which includes 5,000 gallons.
So you think that's on the water alone? We're knowing that where we're going on is that enough? What we're charging?
It's enough for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, that allows us to put a little bit away
It's
back
hard,
into reserves.
it's hard to justify raising the rates if we're putting a little bit more aside every time.
Yeah, it's not a lot, but it's a little.
Right.
You know.
And so it's in the fine balancing, and it allows us to be able to withstand a well or a major pump going out or something like that, so.
I mean, we know this is
Yeah.
a low income community as far as average income, and it's a hardship. Some people, when you raise rate too fast or too, I mean, the idea of going the sewer to 120 is scary for a lot of people. I mean,
I fully agree, but I doubt if you go to anywhere in any community in the state and they say we aren't paying enough.
exactly.
Everybody's paying too much.
Everyone's paying too much.
Right.
Exactly right.
Okay, I mean, I'm not discounting it at all, but everybody knows what the elephant in the room, I mean, it's the sewer project, and because we've been adding to the reserves a little bit more, it makes us very healthy. And I think the budget's in very good shape, and part of that is my guys are driving 40-year-old pickups, right?
Right.
You know, and making it work. Okay, we've got a greater issue that might be coming down the road. We still haven't quite figured out what we need to do to get it up and to get it running. It's got a transmission issue, but we're troubleshooting that right now. But so by adding a little bit, it makes us, and we don't see any water problems, any major water projects that we need to accomplish. It's everything's sewer, and that's why we front load the sewer rates to be a little higher versus the water. So
Makes sense. I think you mentioned the other day that we still had some old pipes out there. Wood pipe, are they still wooden? Are there any wooden ones left?
So,
hard telling.
Yeah.
No, we got the Orangeburg sewer pipe, and we got some old water lines, and every once in a while they'll run into something, and they go, wow, couldn't believe this is still running.
Now, is there an issue with on any of the pipes where we have left lead? I mean, it's been a national thing. We
Right.
got old lines in there. I don't know where they all are. I'm sure it's tested. Is lead an issue in our water system?
It hasn't thrown up its head. I mean, I know we had a survey a year ago talking about the lead, for the property owners to identify if there's any lead pipes.
Right.
But there are one thing is, in our side of town, because I test the water pretty regularly, and the chlorine is very, very high. And if you got lead joints, which is on our side of the town, it needs the lead out of there. So that's something that we need to talk to an engineer in the future about replacing those little odds and ends water mains, getting them changed.
They're constantly doing projects.
Yeah, because the lead's getting it out all the time.
So how much of that, what percent of water lines in town are suspect?
Well, it's-
That's a better idea.
Broadway, it needs to be changed, and then the little, what was it, when they just did Elizabeth, Elizabeth, and it's lead joint on that one, it's 4-inch. And then there's probably a couple of little spots up there on the north side that need to be done. So I would probably say about 1 to 2% that's still got leaded joints in it. There are no leaded fittings, they're not in town. It's just the lead joints that are on the old pipe. And so that was given to a lot of communities after World War II. That pipe is, basically World War II.
Yeah, amazing.
And so that was given to almost all the communities in Washington from the old Liberty ships. And so it all lead joints. And when the chlorine is high, it eats the lead out, and then that's why you get leaks. And so because, I'll just make this a little bit net, because we got the well over there on the other side. The state requires a 0.2 to 0.4 as a range to kill everything. Well, at my house the other day, it was 8.2.
Wow.
And so that there is a health concern then by the standards of the state. And so it's kind of over-chlorinated. So when it gets that high and it's circulating through the system, the chlorine eats the lead and absorbs it, and it puts it in the system.
Why would it be so high in your area?
Why is it so high? Because they over-chlorinated the big well.
Is that what happens? So does that extend the whole town or just?
No, it's mostly everything, as soon as it gets to this point right here, these wells right here, so it'd be your side of town, and then my side of town, and then when it hits these wells right here, then it gets mixed with this water right here. So, the school side and then our side is the one that gets the big well, the big hits. Now, if it was 8.2 at my house Friday, then I can imagine what the force of the people that are just further on down. We need to talk about that in the future with the
Sure.
engineers.
Which is,
So let me talk about the sewer payments for just a second. I was looking through to see kind of where we compare to other towns, and I noticed Palouse, they're in the process of, aren't they also replacing the sewer plant? So their payments show like whatever it is, let's say $50 a month plus, and then they have 4 or 5, and it's more than 50, by the way. But, and then they have plus 4 or 5, and in parentheses it says designated towards sewer plant. In other words, because sometimes, when we're raising the rates, people are asking questions like, or they make assumptions. Well, we've been raising the rates for years and they're just using that all and none of that's being said. They don't understand reserves and stuff. And I just wonder if it would be helpful when we raise rates, or is there a way, Liza, it is like, let's say a $70 rate, it is like $5 of that going into the reserves, or is it all being, do you understand what I'm
Well,
asking?
I think I understand what you're saying. And I understand different towns do their billing differently, we could certainly put something in the newsletter that helps people understand the growth of the reserves for the sewer plant.
That would probably be helpful.
Right,
And this was actually on their billing statement.
right, no,
So,
I understand that.
would that be
Yeah.
something difficult? I just think that would be, like, I don't know, it's just kind of nice to know if so much of your paycheck is going into a certain fund, like for the future or whatever, then that kind of shuts down some of the speculation or confusion for people. And I don't know, maybe as we do our budget for this next year, it wouldn't be something we do maybe immediately, but like starting in January, if there was a way that the statements could say this much, if we could predict how much of that is actually set aside and not being used in the day-to-day now sewer expenses, if that makes sense. Is that a possibility?
Well,
Or would that be
it would just be
complicated for
adding
yours?
another line, to the billing. I don't think it would be terribly complicated.
Maybe I can find a copy of that and send that to you, so you can just see how they did it and see. I don't know if the council has, I think that would be, I
Well,
think
for
that'd be
instance, in
great.
past years, we've said, we budgeted $50,000. This year, we had enough reserve, we moved $150,000 over because it was actually the reserves were more, than that 50, but that also allowed for unexpected costs, et cetera, to the system.
of course, with all cities, no matter what you put in reserve, you have an emergency or some crisis comes up, you have the option to use that reserve, no matter where it is, no matter what the destination. Is that accurate? Is there any amount of reserves that's dedicated to the sewer plant? If something comes up, that's available to be used for some other reason if you had to.
No. No, sewer and water aren't like that. They're enterprise funds, and so
Okay.
the money that is generated in those funds needs to support those systems. So the only fund that's not assigned in that way is the general fund.
So I just misspoke. So if you had, say, a couple $100,000 in the sewer fund, we were putting it away for this sewer plant, a new sewer plant, and then there's some major crisis in the sewer system,
You could use that, yes.
that you could pull that out and say, you want it for that, but this is a crisis, we gotta fix this.
Yes.
Pipes are crunched and gotta back up, and we gotta fix it. Yeah, so people sometimes think, it's.
Not hands off.
It's sort of like Social Security, we thought that was secure too,
Right.
turned out to be not the case.
And that's a little bit in the back of my mind when we're talking about putting it on the bill, like this is the part that's used for the sewer plant. Well, if it gets used for something else, I would want people to be upset.
Maybe just say sewer reserve or.
Yeah, or maybe just make a point of reporting on what those are, how they've, grown in maybe the last 5 years would be helpful. for people
So
to
it's
see
not that it hasn't been messaged, but you know how these things
Yeah.
have to kind of be remessaged over and over for it to stick for some of us.
Okay.
So, but I will get you that statement, see if it's useful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. On the next section of the annual report, this is our federal funds spending schedule. And so these were the last of our ARPA funds. And they were used for things like paying for some easements, and they were broken out into specific, water and sewer funds, and so that's how they were used, but they were just absorbed in all the big repairs that were done this last year. And the easements. And so this little page here. So those are completely expended, and so that's all done except for the reporting that has to happen for a few more years. So I think generally speaking with ARPA funds, they have to be spent by the end of this year, so reporting will still go on for another 4 years. And we've already spent ours, but we still have to report. Okay. Notes to the schedule of expenditures of federal awards, we have to do this. It says that our basis of accounting is the same as the city's financial statements, this is cash accounting. Federal indirect cost rate, we're so small that we use the 10% de minimis cost rate. Let's see. And saying that this is only the federal program costs that are reported. So these are the notes just to this one item that have to be part of the annual report. The next page talks about that we belong to a public entity risk pool, which we're not self-insured. That we pay premiums to the state's program for the paid family medical leave. We don't do our own program for that. And then it starts the notes to the financial statements. You want me to go?
What might be most important, or maybe we could look this part over and
And ask
pick this up
questions?
next time.
Sure, we could do that. I think probably a lot of it's very self-explanatory.
So how about instead of making you copy this off again, we all commit to bringing our copies back and going over this part of the next.
Okay.
And asking questions, 'cause there's a lot there. Would that be okay with the rest of the council? Sure.
Whatever you say.
And it does have a longer description for some of the things that I have just not looked at for a while, like the OPEB plans, the other post-employment benefits and that type of thing. So it's written out in paragraph form. I think that'll be simpler for people to understand too.
So my last question on this for now is, so like, is there anything in here that informs us clearly for our next budget?
Well, I think if you look at the very first pages,
Thanks a lot.
the thing is, they're, because we can only present so many funds, and the other funds are rolled up. It does give a good overall view though of like how we've spent our money. So, when you look at those first couple of pages, I mean, it's very simplistic, but it also is very helpful. You know, that, you know, here are your beginning cash balances for the general fund, airport, you know, all of the funds that have to do with water, you know, water reserves and regular water, the sewer fund and then the cemetery endowment. And you can look at all of these different categories of, you know, where the money came from and where the money went in general categories without having to take it all the way down to the line item. And that helps where we're spending money. So, but if you really want to know exactly, the next whole set is all those line items. You know, so.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you, nice job, very good. That's a lot.
I like the idea of reviewing and coming back with more questions. That's good.
Perfect. Okay. We're gonna go recording council meetings.
I asked for that to be put on there, so I just, you mentioned in the city newsletter that people can find the council meetings on, YouTube, and thank you, Reed, for making that all happen. But you said that the recordings don't belong to the city, so who do they belong to?
They're out there. They're just running around, right, Reed?
But so we had voted for, meeting minutes to be recorded. It used to be that it was, Tekoa Neighborhood Watch was coming in, and they were the ones that started this, I believe. And I know Eric had said that if the camera belonged to them, it shouldn't have been stored here, so I'm not really sure what happened if that was given to us now, or how that works, but the Tekoa Neighborhood Watch doesn't seem to be in, tapped any longer. They're no longer on Facebook. They disappeared from Facebook. They were having the note was that they were trying to download, or Facebook was trying to download, and stuff got lost. For now, it's not there. So I'm not really sure that was the note that was there, but if you go and look for it, it's not there. And so all the meetings from before did belong to them. They're not available. So really the only thing available to the public, or anybody who wants to go back and get full context to some of the conversations we've had, and unfortunately all those trainings that we had with Jennifer Robinson last year, they were all on that neighborhood watch. That would be really valuable for us to own those and have those as new council members come on, to go back and go through those. I know some of them are a little lengthy, but there was some really good information there. So at this point, I'm kind of confused as to if it's not neighborhood watch and then somebody's just out there doing them. I mean, are they not being downloaded if somebody were to ask for them as a public record?
They don't belong to us.
They don't belong to the city, so it's-
Okay, so we voted and asked that these meetings be recorded. It was voted and passed that they're recorded and they're made part of a public record. So what will it take for that to happen?
The last I understood, it was being looked into about the audio recording equipment, and I don't know where that stands.
So when could we, Roy, get that done? I mean, it was several months ago that we voted for that. So the thing that I think is concerning to me is that if they don't belong to us, I mean, it's very great of Reed to come in here and record these, but it's like, so at any time they could just disappear. With some of them, there was some very interesting and some there was just a lot of confusion and a lot of conversations going on Facebook based on some of the old meetings. All that is gone. Maybe that's good, but also there's fingers are being pointed at people and different things. And now we don't have any record to go back. And I just think that puts the council in a precarious situation. We've asked for these to be recorded. It was suggested by Jennifer Robinson that they be recorded. it's in our policy manual that they're recorded. And, we went back and reviewed that and we voted again for them to be recorded. So I would just like to know when we can expect these to become part of our public record.
Can I defer to Reed here real quick? What is the possibility of that, and has that expectation changed since the motions were made? Can this, because I believe when the motions were made that we make them for eternity, that the system we were using allowed that. Does this system allow that too?
Now, I might not be understanding what you're talking about, but as far as them being public record, they are public record as far as they are on YouTube, and anybody can go out there and view them.
But they don't belong to the city, so whoever currently owns them or has them, they have the ability to go and to take them down or remove them, or,
No, because it is our city account, the Tekoa account, through Eliza's web or email and everything else, and her password. So they are part of the city. But as far as owning them, I don't know if YouTube owns them because it's on their servers or whatever.
If I can, was it one of the conversations where the city would have to get its own server in order to load them and keep them as a public record?
Right.
And does that happen? I don't know if that's happened yet or not. That was an expense that I think needs to take place if it's going to be a public record owned by the city.
Requested to have that done.
Just so you guys understand, YouTube is open source, held by YouTube. You don't delete it for a decade. And that's well past our 7-year period. But it's open source. So it means nobody can go in and change it or delete it or anything. The primary user, Reed, is the only one that can make any changes to it. That's it.
Well, I think the issue is, if someone makes a public records request, the city has to be able to provide it. And then that's what the way the council, that's what they want. They want to make all meetings public records.
Right.
And what that means is not YouTube, it means that the city has to have it and own it on a server and provide it to anyone who requests it.
Right.
And so I think a server,
Well, wouldn't have to be a server, just a computer with large enough hard drive to be able to hold all the video recordings.
that will be owned and controlled and maintained by the
Right,
city.
yeah, just be here, and then it could be transferred over a copy of them. And that was my fault, because Facebook told me that they were going to be deleting, and so I went and saved them. And I thought I was actually saving the files to my computer, but then when I went back to look for them, they were all gone. What I had listed all the years worth of meetings, when I clicked on it, it was not the actual video that was saved, but it was just a link
But that was
to
before,
that.
that was before the vote, so those don't have to be public records.
Right,
Like
but I'm
I
just
said,
saying,
again, it's
So
still.
I'm just saying the comments have been made, and that's what happened. They were actually deleting everything, and it wasn't me saving the file, it was just saving a link to that file. When they deleted the files, they were all gone.
Yeah, I guess my main concern, just to make clear, they weren't public records to the city, because again, it's a huge liability on the city if they're not fulfilling public record requests. And
Right.
That's why I want to make sure that those weren't public records.
And that would just be where the city council agrees to buy a computer with massive memory to where those can be transferred to that hard drive and saved.
Couldn't they put that on CDs though, or they have to have a massive, put the program on a CD?
Well, you could put it on a CD, but then you have to buy still a computer, a CD drive, a CD writer that can write them and save them. It all depends on the type of file to whether or not it would fit on a CD.
Well, I think we wanted to do that, so.
If someone requests a CD, how many do you have to make then?
Well, then you'd have to have a writer to where you could take that file or that video, record it to a CD, and then hand them that CD.
One meeting would probably be 5 CDs worth, at least, or more than that.
if
So
we kept it on a server, like you said, or a computer that
Right.
had, could we, upload them, a couple of them to our website so that people could, like, 3 months worth, and then that, so that Eliza not having to send out CDs, or could she refer them to the YouTube channel?
Well, I
Would
don't
that-
think you do 3 months, but if it's a public record, you have to have them for a certain number of years.
Right, something
Yeah,
number
but
of
so they're
years.
on that computer, but I'm saying it's like somebody in
But-
the. Yeah, go ahead.
The record requirements for audio files are 6 months. So I'm not sure that it's 7 years for movies. I want to look that up, if I'm not.
I'd definitely like to keep them
Me
more
too.
than 6 months.
But you can, that just means that's a limit that you're
Well-
required to. That doesn't say that you can't have them for 5 years,
Well,
but you just have to be able to have a space for it.
there's something called the DAN system, which is the system that you use through the Secretary of State, and it's the Washington State Archives. You are not supposed to keep records for longer than their required amount of time, because you wind up having massive amounts of records. The thought on that is your permanent record is your minutes. And that after that period of time, then, people should be asking their questions within those periods of time. And that way, because the longer you keep them, the more massive of a log you have to deal with for public records, for requested searches and everything that comes with it. I mean, that's a huge part of why they fund the records room cleanup projects and digitizing your records and all that, so you can find them and get them out there efficiently. But I just wanted to say that, like, once those requirements for time are met, those records should not be here. So if people want them, then they need to make their own copies for years going on and on and on, which of course, if you send them links, which is what you're required to do, you're not required to send hard copies inside this. So if they request them, then they have to pay for them, but typically you're only required to send a link.
And you're sure it's what, 6 months, or is that?
For audio files, it's 6 months. I'm not sure what it is for video files. I'm pretty sure it's longer, but I don't know how much longer. And that's what we originally talked about, was audio files, and we didn't have a
Am I
proper
getting
limit for
recognized?
that.
Yes, before you forget your question, what you
Okay,
got?
I don't have a question. I have a statement. I have found on Spokane Valley's website, they record their meetings and they post them on their website. The website servers is the ones that stores them in. Either way, when you guys pass this to record, I don't know if anybody looked into it, because it's gonna be an expense. So whatever you do, you're gonna have an expense, so it seems to me the expenditures, how much it would cost, should have been looked at first before you voted on it, and to recording them is one thing. But I would really look into what Spokane Valley does with theirs, because that is on the webpage, and their recordings are on their website. And how they did that, I'm sure there's many ways to do that, and you don't have to have a server here, because you can probably use the website domain that you have.
And again, if you're doing that on a separate domain from here, that's gonna be more expense because you're
Yeah.
looking for more memory or to be able to store those files on somebody else's computer. And again, we have no access or control over that if it's on, Joe Blow's, computer in Spokane or, wherever it's at. So it's not technically ours, it's stored on his computer, not here.
So even if we kept a CD for a year, and then it got tossed out after that, at least we have something to go back to for,
Yes.
discrepancies, at least for a year.
Yes, if that's what the state requirement is for video files for 1 year, then yes, you could have it, for a year on your computer, and then anybody during that year. But then again, somebody's got to be responsible to manage that file, that disk, and say, okay, these go, these have been added, but it's been a year for these, they get to be deleted.
Using a external hard drive with terabytes on it and storing your recordings on that would be less cheaper and more efficient than using CDs. CDs is just a lot of work.
Well, what they're talking about though is that if you walked in and say, I want a copy of
Yeah,
tonight's meeting, then you've got to be able to do a CD to give it to them.
He did not,
But
no,
none of
You
it's
couldn't
on
just
your
give 'em-
server.
You couldn't just give them a link.
Well, yes, if that's the case, but again, right now, all they gotta do is go to YouTube and then that link is there, but if you're trying to keep it on, if you do it like we're talking about, having a server here with all of our files, via the town's website, then yes, that would all be controlled here, and then they could just click on that link and go to that file. And you wouldn't have to have the CDs. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm certain we are all in over our heads.
I am.
Here's a quick budgetary overview. A primary server is gonna range anywhere between $5,000 to $15,000, depending on what you get. A computer like which he's talking about could be as much as $5,000, okay? If we got a digital voice recorder, that's all we need, it's only gonna cost us $160. If we wanna go to an open server source, like Spokane Valley does, or you guys are proposing, we have to amplify our server services. So we have to go to the very top end and add additional memory to that. So you're looking at going from $160 a month all the way up to about $300 to $400 a month to maintain this system. Or you could get a digital voice recorder for $60. Just record them on voice, voila, we're done.
What did you, so recording them, but
Then just keep them.
Does that identify speakers? No, there'd be no way. It's just a recording of the meeting, correct?
It's recording a meeting,
Just
and it's
audio.
only voice.
All it is just so, it's detailed, she takes the notes, it's just basic, but the recorder is detailed.
and then you would replace the camera with one of those devices like you see in meeting rooms, and it would just sit out here in the middle, but we'd have to test it to make sure that it's gonna pick up everybody's voice from that distance.
But the disadvantage to that is nobody can lock in on it, can I?
What do you mean?
Want to watch it?
No, it would strictly be an audio file if you're doing it that way. But the problem I found out, I researched those because we talked about it during that meeting, and I was not able to find any of those devices that would record. Those type of devices that I saw were strictly to take this meeting and transfer it, to another place, to where you're talking back and forth.
If someone asks for a public record request for a meeting that's recorded, how does that get provided to them?
Well, again, we'd have to find one that can record it. And depending on how that device is, whether it's a device or a computer, it would create a file, big file. And then you would just have to transfer, again, that link through the computer if you're gonna do it through our town website. And then you just give them a link to that audio file. And they would listen to it. The same thing you would do as with a recording, but it would just be an audio. But again, those are gonna be big files, so you're gonna have to have large storage space.
there you go. How much storage space do you need for a meeting like this? Like one today, goes on a couple of hours. How much space does that take?
I'd have to look at it and see.
Just for audio, it runs about 140 megabyte.
Would we have to be mic'd?
Well, again, we'd have to see if the one device would pick everybody up, or would have to, and again, then you're gonna look at, mics for everybody going into a system that can record it.
Interesting, when I first got on the city council, I remember our mayor at the time, we all had our mics here.
Right.
Right.
And I remember our mayor at the time got back from his first mayor's thing, and the first thing they told him was quit recording, don't record it.
That's a liability.
It's a liability.
No, it's a liability.
Yeah, to record.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they
It's the
told
same
him,
thing here, you're
they
recording.
says, because we were recording.
Yeah,
Because it was helping, at that point, I believe it was probably Peggy, it was helping her to remember and to touch up the minutes.
right.
So what they were saying was that the official is the minutes, not the voice.
So Eric, so if this camera, I don't know who this camera belongs to, but if Eliza has an account set up on YouTube through the city, right? Is that
Yes.
what you're saying, was set up?
Right.
So, I mean, is there a liability involved there too? I mean,
Well, as far as how if someone makes a public record request, I don't know how you, I don't know how you do that, so if it disappears or something. That's a liability, that's why I thought it's best just not to have the city do it, just have the city just keep minutes. And if citizens want to record, that's fine, that's their right to do.
But now we are recording this
No,
somewhat through the
it's
city.
a private citizen that's doing
Yeah, we're just putting on the internet,
Yeah, read.
it.
read it.
But Reed is also running for city council, so is there a conflict of interest there?
You pass it off if you get selected.
No.
That's his choice. It's not ours.
Darlene can run it too.
So for what I'm understanding, they're saying that there's a liability legally for having the recording or the video.
Because then you are subject to public records if it's our production.
Right.
I guess the only thing I'm looking forward for is assurance that they don't suddenly disappear.
And that's what happened with Facebook, but again, I've been guaranteed that this will not happen with YouTube. But again, there's always that chance. You never know.
So you get it here, you transfer them to YouTube, so you don't overload.
No, it's recording straight to YouTube.
Okay, so it doesn't use up your space.
Right, yeah, it's not saved to mine, just like the ones that I was doing on Facebook was recording straight to Facebook. So this saying here is it's being recorded straight to YouTube.
Okay, and they indicate that, you indicate it's good for open source, indicate it's gonna be there a long time.
Right, and it is, available to anybody around the world that wants to click on it and watch it.
And we were responsible, so it's there. I thought we bought that camera, we did something with it. We're gonna look
And
into
my
it.
understanding is that now owns that camera. Am I correct?
As far as I know.
I think that's, yeah, I don't know.
Right,
for
that's the
sure.
reason I take it home, so it's not sitting here.
Okay.
Reed owns it.
I own it.
And then, so I personally, for now, am content with doing this. The citizens love being able to see it. They love that it's on YouTube because a lot of people don't do Facebook.
Right.
YouTube is much easier.
Right.
I guess maybe I'd like to give this a 6 months trial and just to see if it within 6 months, within the next year, that we're not having trouble with stuff disappearing. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of comments that are going on with these on YouTube. I don't know, maybe there are, I haven't really looked.
All I'm seeing is just the amount of people that are watching it per night.
But you're the only one that has the ability to take it down.
And I gave all the information that I created, I gave to her, so she has it as well, in case something happens to me, everybody's always knocking
And
me
then she
off.
finds somebody else.
Right,
Right, gonna push for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
but she gave me the information to use to create it, her email and password and everything else. So she has all that information, so either one of us could.
Well, I think it would be helpful if, I know in the 1,000 things you have to do, if a little research was done on what it would cost to do a server or the best, cheapest way to do something in addition. But for right now, if the rest of the council is content,
Yeah.
I'm happy with this and being on YouTube and watch to make sure that somehow things don't disappear.
Right,
I agree with
And
that.
and you're the only one that has control of that?
Yes.
And no other citizen in town?
No.
Okay.
I created it myself.
So would you, any other thought? I'd be happy to stick with this for right now.
Well, I do have one thought, and that is cybersecurity concerns. If you have a server, that is something for people to get into. That's one of the strange, helpful things about the way we have things set up at the city right now is because if any one of our computers gets infected, it's only our computer and we have cloud backup. But if we have a server, it's everybody. It wouldn't make sense for us to get a server and then just only use it for this purpose. That's a very large expense.
I agree with that.
So I guess that just emphasizes a reason to stick with YouTube for right now.
I guess, yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like we just keep going, doing what we're doing.
Reed, how
Table
many,
this for 6 months. Bring the discussion back in 6 months.
That's for you to remember, Mike.
Well, I think it'll come up if we, this.
If we're having any problems or issues.
We'll revisit it if we have issues.
Yeah.
Right.
How many people watch this average?
I don't know what the average is, but I've seen 5 and I've seen 10, 15,
Last week we were around 100.
or 100.
And some of them on Facebook are getting 300 or 400. Of course, when you scroll by them, they count it on Facebook. I don't think YouTube does that.
No, it does not. You've got to watch it, but if he watches it 10 times, it counts 10 times. It doesn't say, oh, he's looked at it 10 times, well, I'm gonna count it once.
I don't know why
'Cause
you do that.
And you might watch it, just, an hour of it, and you come back and watch the second hour, so it's not 100 people, it's just 100 views.
I think on average, we were getting about 150 people at least.
Right.
With Facebook, it's a little harder to tell.
Just a question for you guys, how many turn your internet connection off at the end of the day?
I don't really want to say because it's,
The reason why, and this is just for information and for public too.
Right.
If you don't do that, then that leaves accessibility to your computer to anybody. You can shut the computer off, you can leave the internet connection in place, they can come in and turn the computer back on and pull all your data out of it. So just a thought, might wanna disconnect your internet at night.
Right now, I'm showing 3 people are watching it and 2 likes, so,
That
thank
many?
you.
okay.
Just to amplify Mike's point, if you're really paranoid about it, or you're being investigated by the federal agencies, unplug your computer. They can remotely turn your computer on, even if your computer is off. Turn off the internet and disconnect it from your power source. That's the only way to secure a computer from the federal government.
Hackers.
This is a great country.
All right, I think we.
Yeah, beat that up. Hey Sheila, in your free time, yeah, you, in your free time, if you want to throw some numbers together, what this could look like for us, you've got 6 months. Okay, just if you're bored and want to get out of his way for a second, right? I mean,
Yeah.
right? Give us some numbers and we may, so we could present this and have a little, we don't know what we don't know. So, okay?
Well, isn't it also what I heard Eric say, that if it's a citizen, if the citizen is recording and the city doesn't belong, and then there's no reliability and for a public record. Because you can't get that,
Correct.
to their access to it.
Right, it's gotta be a record maintained by the city.
Yeah, so if you guys go ahead and record and own it, like, I don't know
Yes,
why you want
exactly.
to, but then you're responsible, reliable for it. You
Yes.
become that reliability. Right now, being recorded this way, you're not.
Correct.
So owning your own thing, own system, that might be a
The
issue, a problem in the
The
future.
best solution is for whatever's happening right now
Yeah,
and not go away, or at least have a life to it so that people can access it for, it'd be nice for a couple of years, but I was doing some stuff over the weekend, Pete, and remember the first Rails to Trails meeting we had here? Yeah, it's still up. I don't know, how long's that, 10 years? No, it's been a long time. Yeah. Anyway.
And I was a creator of the YouTube channel, and I just put Tico's name on it, so when people go in and type in Tico, that will come up. Tico does not own it, Tico's not recording it, it's all my personal equipment, okay? Just so it's out there, that it's not a legal thing.
Okay, all right, thank you. Go to mayor's report. No, hold it. Amendment, oh, I thought I read that once already, okay. Amendment approval.
Yeah, no, this is a proposed amendment
Right.
to the small water system management plan update. Because now the well driller, they got bids for a well driller to go in there and do exploratory drilling. And so that's what the $92,000 is. This has not been voted on by the commissioners yet, and these are probably final numbers, but I'm just getting it to you so you know what you're looking at. And then next time around, I think I'll probably have, the final amendment. It may not look much different than this, but just so you've seen it.
All right,
That's it.
that's it, we don't have to do anything, all right, okay. Gosh, I don't think I have anything, because everything that I've maybe got, Mike's gonna cover, so. Staff report, ma'am?
I don't have great information for you yet, but I wanted to make you aware that recently we were approached by a solar company that is installing solar panels for food banks. And because the city hall houses the food bank, it would cover all of they would design a system to cover all of the electrical costs for city hall, including the shop, because that's all on one meter for city hall. So when I have better numbers, et cetera, for you, I'll go get that out to you, but I just wanted you to know that that was a possibility. That would save the city more than $5,000 a year.
What are they gonna do exactly?
They would put solar panels on the roof.
Ah.
So the one thing that I could think of is that some of our roof is getting pretty rusty.
I was just gonna say, well, they
Yeah.
replaced the roof underneath in order to.
So, that might be something that we could look at, and I don't know much about corrugated metal, because that's something we could coat, that would bond with the rusty stuff, and, but we can look into that, and I just wanted you to know that this was coming along, and, there's a big push to get some of this stuff done for the end of the year and some of these grants.
It'd be interesting to know, it's call up to the city of Fairfield and find out what those solar panels, as far as I know right now, they're paying a bigger bill, they're not getting anything out of it.
But there's something not quite right there, right? But the estimates that I saw today were that they expected to cover about 35% of the capacity of the solar panels that we have should cover all of an average month's usage, and then they have quite a big overage amount that they expect to go back into the system, so we should get credited like for our big months, because we spend a lot of money on electricity when it's really hot and really cold.
Library, yeah.
Oh, right. Which part? Sorry.
Grants.
Well, I know Shelley knows this, but the furnace at the library is on its very, very last legs. We had a repair done to it, in the springtime when it was still cool enough to need heat, and the repairman came in and said, I hope this gets you through the rest of the season. It's really, really tenuous. So I just also wanted to make you aware of that. And then we were talking about, maybe when the building next door sold, maybe we could use part of that for facilities funds. Well, guess what? The IT fellow from the library came
Oh,
in.
James.
James, thank you. Because he'd forgotten a key, only for us to find out that he is applying for a grant for new furnaces for Tekoa and
wow.
Oakdale, Farmington, okay, thank you, sorry. So that was an amazing discovery, so hopefully that will happen and we won't have to spend city dollars to do that. But if that does happen, they probably won't cover the, what's that called?
Mini split.
Mini split, thank you. The mini split that would go in the museum. But they would plumb it in such a way that the city could buy a mini split for the museum. Right now, the museum does not have any of its own heating or cooling. It's just air communication from the library. And they would put in mini splits and an electrical furnace for when it's really cold, because they don't work very well when it's really cold. They don't work at all.
So you're looking about how much for a 5,000?
Oh, way more than that. Yeah.
I just put one in and it was almost 17,000.
Yeah, he gets the grants.
Right, so, I don't know how many it would take for the library,
17,000.
but yeah, it's a lot of money. So it'd be wonderful if that comes through, so I'll let you know, I'll let you know.
And did you talk to the museum? I know they have some money that was gifted to them a few years, I have no idea how much, but they might be able to
Might be able to do that. And
do a little bit.
James also suggested that we might be able to apply for the same grant in the next cycle for the museum.
Oh, okay.
So,
And I just give a little bit, so we have a new director down at the Whitney County Library, Christie, and she was at that same conference we were all at Malden, that's the first time I met her. So it kind of came up, and she's very proactive, she's the one that got onto with James about the furnaces and stuff. So anytime there is a need, even though it might be the responsibility of the city as far as the building and stuff, they always want to do their part to try to help the libraries come up, so.
that's fantastic. So hopefully that will happen.
Do we have a new employee or
Oh, thank you, that's another reminder. She is working here through Blue Mountain Community. Well, no, it's like a rural resources program, but it's out of Walla Walla. And so Victoria Hood is working here. She just began, just put in just a few hours this last week. So she is going to help finish up our public records projects because we ran out of hours on that. And then I don't know how long she'll be funded, but as long as she's funded, then we'll teach her how to do stuff here and she'll help us.
Is that someone that they sent to you to be employed here? How did that come about?
The person whose job it is at the Blue Mountain Action Center, and I don't know if I'm saying that right or not, but it's out of Walla Walla, called and asked if there was a possibility that we would be able to find something for someone to do, teach them how to do things here in the office. And I was like, I didn't think we could do that. First of all, we have a couple of projects we need to do that. So she's learning all about public records and how those things are managed.
And this is a free service.
Right, it doesn't cost the city anything.
So
It's wonderful. So, I think that's it.
Okay, Dan, Mike?
Well, there's a long and a short story at the airport.
Ah,
We approved the change order. They originally were gonna to disc the area in question with the clay for 4 days. JEB guys stopped them after 3 days because it's getting pretty dry. And that saved us $7,000 in what we had out there. So now we've got that money to put into the matting over the soft spots, so we're gonna have a better runway. Put the rock down and start paving. The other things that are going on is I've got a couple of abandoned airplanes I need to get rid of because where they're tied down is where they're supposed to be moved from. It's not a safe area. It's a crash zone. And the federal government's a CFR 77-1 that says it's got to be 125 feet from the runway to anything. So we're going to vacate that. And I'm in the process of trying to find another spot out there to put tie downs in. I'm going to try and work with Roy. We've got some trailers parked on airport property that we need to move. And then there's my tie down. Today they were moving 300 yards of overburden, for lack of a better term, from the soft spots. So we may have a very big pile out there that we haven't figured out what to do with. So if you need any gravel or mixed with asphalt, I may have a for sale free sign out there or something. But we're on schedule.
Take it all, you're gonna take it, right?
Yeah, you gotta take all
Yeah,
300
you
yards.
can't just come get it.
But we're on schedule and we're under budget right now. So hopefully the next couple of weeks, it'll all be nice and pretty out there again. The next board meeting for the loan, the 2% loan for the gas pump happens in October 16th. So I should know by then the outcome, and hopefully by the end of October, we'll have a new fuel pump out there. So we can start making more money again.
and the city did some work out there, did some digging to help you.
Well, we did do some digging, I forgot to mention that. Our guys went out there last week because we don't know where the wires are for the lights. We found galvanized pipe, iron pipe, plastic pipe at various depths and locations under that runway.
And an old Datsun.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
a car?
I talked to Larry Hagan and he clued me into what they are. So Stephen and Jeff went out there, they dug a 3 foot deep, well, almost 4 foot deep trench across where the new asphalt's gonna go. They put the conduit in, so it comes up on both ends. So when we need to run wires to the conduits there, we could just run it through the conduit. They went back in, they packed it all down, it met compaction specs at 101 actually. They filled it in, so we're ready for new wires and doesn't even look like we've been there.
Wow, that's impressive.
Big kudos to those two guys, Jeff
They were out
and
there.
Steven worked their butts off.
They were out there at 5 o'clock one morning when it was 100 degrees, so.
That's
there's
pretty
a
good.
way to
They
get
had the selling crew jump right in and help them, so that was really something.
You said something about abandoned planes? That wasn't correct.
There's 2 airplanes out there that I know have been abandoned for at least 4 years.
You're kidding, there is
They're
that.
just shells.
They're not flyable.
Oh,
And what's that?
What more?
I've got the FAA registration information. We need to figure out how to notify them that they either have to move them or I'm gonna sell them at auction. There's a guy in Omak that's already looking at the beach rapids out there. It's a relic and he may want it.
so they just been outside all this time?
They've been sitting there tied down in the spot where they're not supposed to be.
Uh,
In fact, if you look at our ALP, Airport Land Management Program, it shows that they're to be removed. And that's from 2006.
wow.
It's where the tie downs are. They're there where they're supposed to be.
The tie downs are there, but we have to move them. So if I get rid of the airplanes, that just helps.
Yes. Wow.
Okay,
Okay, two things. One, those interpretive signs that we're having problems as far as water penetration. I called them and they indicated that if we can get photographic pictures of units to see if they're put together right, probably Public Works, I'll go out there and make sure we've documented it, how we got them, instead of make sure that the drain areas are on the bottom. I said, hello. So anyway, we can get Public Works out there and take them apart, like they put them together, take pictures of them. I'll send them to them. If we can indicate to them that they're right, then they'll make it good. These they have them all over the country. And if they left something off or didn't do it right, they'll make it good. So we just have to document that they are a problem. I said they all leak and it's not gonna work for them. So that's that part. I have ordered signs, so people will, the sick nights maybe won't be inundated by wandering people into their driveway. Where more signs are coming to direct them so they don't come down that street, down that road, and they move on, they go on to the trestle. So that's what we're working on.
okay, Sean?
Okay, I have a few things. First of all, I had a meeting out at the care center with Dee Lee joined me this time, one of the business owners here in town, and we meet about every 4 times a year. We meet out there, and so a couple things that were shared from their end. One was they gave a lot of positive feedback about how kind people at the commodities have been, especially to one of the residents out there has come in, and she has gotten some things, and I guess she comes every month. And they were just so impressed, the gal was so impressed, and just felt so accepted and embraced that she could come here, and they met her needs and everything, and so that was kind of a thank you to shout out to the commodities people for, and plus they probably deserve that for all the other things they do to help people in the community, so that was really great. They're trying to be very diligent about regularly having litter crews come down and go on the paths where their residents are walking back and forth. So if you're ever aware of places that don't seem to get serviced, please let them know and contact them out at the care center. They're pretty, they've got a few empty beds right now. We were talking about how many people they employ, and I was so engaged in the conversation, I didn't write down all the numbers, and numbers don't always stick, but I want to say that they employ about 60 people out there, and well over, probably about 80% of them are local people that we would consider local. So I think that's really neat. What they do is not easy. They did change their mission a few years ago. We've tried to work through some of the things that caused some problems at first in the community. I think they're working really hard to be on top of it. They have more say in the residents that come than they did during COVID. The state was just kind of forcing people every which way, and so that we were learning some things that weren't working well for Tekoa. As soon as they are made aware of an issue or something, they get right on top of it. which, I go out there, we have really good meetings, we talk about things, they're interested in the things that we're doing in town. They love to get the calendars, the events. The residents have come and served, they came down and heard nothing but great reviews about Slippery Gulch, the crew that came in and did the cleanup for the breakfast up there, and have done that 2 or 3 years in a row now. They love to be notified if there's things like that that they can help with. But then, I'll talk to people in town, and there's different things that might happen. Maybe a teenager has a conversation with somebody from out there and parents feel a little uncomfortable or whatever. Well, if they don't know at the care center, and not that anything has happened, it's just, that it gets on the parents' radar, they have a certain perception. But if the care center doesn't know about it, they can't do anything about it. So just want to continue to communicate if there are issues, to get hold, let Molly know out there what's going on. So Molly Karen is the manager, or whatever her official title is. Madison's still involved, he comes down and he usually attends our meetings, but Molly is running it, and they really want to work well with the community. Again, they employ a lot of our residents here in town. They are a very important business to our community, so I just appreciate all the efforts they're trying to do to make things work smoothly. Sometimes there might be bobbles, but that's where communication. So that was my first report on the care center. I have a report from part 1 from the Parks Department. This is just kind of an overview of some of the things that have been going on. So Kim Schultz put this together and we met and talked about it. And next month, our next meeting, I hope to have more of a report about the swimming pool. They're still kind of tying up some of how their funding went and everything. So I'll try to have that next time. So here's some updates on our Parks Department. One of the things Kim just wanted to note was that it's really encouraging to drive by and see a lot of people using the playground out there. And I've noticed that, and a lot of them seem to be from people from out of town, from time to time stopping and using it. So that's really great. And in fact, today I heard the teacher talking to the kids about their neighborhood and just really talking about, and all the kids are talking how much they love that playground. So that was really kind of fun. They wanted to express a thanks to those who have been helping keep up flowers and helping at Memorial Park next to the pharmacy. And a special shout out goes to Becky Burgle. She spends her lunchtime and extra time keeping that water really good this summer. So we really appreciate that. There is a sprinkler system there, but every time they try to turn it on, it floods the basement of the pharmacy. So it really takes hand watering to make that look good. So we appreciate Becky for doing that. They're continuing, this group worked really hard to get the grants that they did for the playground equipment. Some of their grants did go for some pool improvements, and they're still really working to try to come up with the grants to resurface the bottom of the pool there, which we really need to do. Oh, and then I think it was in the newsletter, there was a park next to the pool. Did everybody know that if you go up there with the driveway and it's kind of a cute little park. And at times, I guess back in Tekoa's history, it was used quite a bit. So one of the things they're trying to do is to get that more usable and in positive ways. And so there's a naming contest. If you read your newsletter, you might have seen that. So if you have a great name, get that to the Parks Board, and they're going to try to come up with a name and get some signage out there so people are aware of that park. And I mentioned the grants. Besides the resurfacing of the pool, they're looking for a grant to get a bathroom down at the Gymkhana Park here in the basketball court. And I think Heart and Soul is also kind of looking in that direction. So that's going on. And then a big shout out to the hospital district. They paid for our lifeguard training and aerobics, and they're looking to do it again next year. One thing I will say about the pool is I know their numbers were good, and I know that we serviced a lot of people from other communities. I know when I was up there, I ran into lots of people from Tekoa, but a lot of people from Lake John, Fairfield, and Plummer, even Rockford, that because other pools were shut down. So all that brings in revenue to us, and just really appreciated all that they did. It's not easy running a pool in the summer, but I think it really benefits our community. So thank you to the Parks Department. And almost a couple things here real quick. then I wanted to present first part of this to this council and the city, and what it is, it's what I called a non-petition. Something that I think is fun and positive, and it's, we love the noon whistle. So it was stated at the August city council meeting that the mayor and public works let us know that they're working on trying to bring the noon whistle back. And for those, I was out of town, I missed that night, I guess that all the, that it all went off. How many of you were awake that night? I guess they were both going off. So I know, and then with the sale of the building, isn't the noon whistle sitting on the old city hall right now? So, or is it on the library? Or is it on both?
I think it's the library.
Yeah.
When I see it across the street, it looks to me like it's on the library.
Yeah, sometimes it's kind of hard to tell which side it's on. So anyway, I know they're trying to do it. So this is just basically petition in quotes to say thank you in advance. And that the noon whistle is a special part of our farmtown heritage, and we are signing this to show our support and appreciation. So this was opened up to people who work here. They don't have to just live here. It's been very fun talking to people. Everybody's just, they love it. They're hoping that it can come back. They want, the reason kind of for this is just to let, you know, whatever efforts it might take to bring the noon whistle back, that a lot of us will really appreciate it. So I'm still getting some more signatures. I have 34 here. I'm gonna go ahead and just present this now. Hopefully it's an encouragement to Public Works, and you guys are welcome. Most of these, some of you, if you want to sign it, you're welcome to do that. And like I said, I'll be bringing in some more there. But what was really cool, and what the businesses really appreciate about it, it is a free tourist attraction. For one, because it goes off and people go, oh, what is that? And you start talking a little bit about the history, and everybody has a little bit different stories about, some people talk to me about Plummer and how they had the whistle go off for when they had the mill at the beginning of the day, at noon, and at the end, because, you know, people, their workers couldn't hear. Around here, back in the day, there weren't smartphones, there weren't even wristwatches so much, you just had your gold watch on your chain. And so it called in the farmers, it called in the railroad workers. There's just a handful of towns. I know Oakville still has theirs. I don't think Farmington has theirs. I know coal mines use something like that, some of those towns across. So it makes Tekoa unique and special. And so if anybody else here wants to sign that tonight, it really is meant to be a thank you. It's not meant to be anything political. So I think that's all I have.
Okay, Marge?
I just wanted to give a thank you to Liza to going through all this with us tonight. It was helpful.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was. Thanks a lot.
Okay, I have a thing on our side of town, since Dallin's here. There's got a tree that I've been watching for the last 5 or 6 years. It's over there by the footbridge. And this year, due to the wind and moisture ground, it's moved over the center of gravity. It moved 2 feet over. So we got a group of us. Did you want to talk about that?
Oh, I can just confirm exactly what you're saying. That thing is gonna go here.
So we got a group of us that want to take that tree down. So it's on city property, but we'll knock it down and clean it up. So if you got any objections to that, that's what I wanted to know.
Do you want to keep this or do you want?
You still got places for signatures, right?
Yeah, but I've got another.
Because what'll happen, here's my scenario. If we don't take that down and then the spring becomes wet, maybe even the winter, that thing breaks off and pulls the sidewalk with it and pulls the bank off, and then that will land in the creek. And if there's an ice flow there at that time, it will be a mess everywhere.
Free food for the beavers.
Yes, well, the beaver, he's not there, somebody must have got him. He's been gone for about a month and a half now. And either that or he went to the fire station. But if that tree were to fall over, it would create a lot of problems. So,
Which side of the bridge? Water side?
yeah, it's on the water side. It's on Downs Bank.
Yeah, it's right down, and it's like this.
Yeah, it's
It
over the
was
center of the
like this, and now it's like this.
Big pine tree. Is it ours?
Yeah, it's the city's.
Technically, it's city property.
But we'll take it down because they haven't got enough time to do that. We'll clean it all up.
If you're willing to do it, you gotta do it.
Yeah, we can get about 5, 6 people to do it.
What's our exposure, Mr. Lawyer?
Well, if it's on city property, but the city is not the one that's cutting it down, I don't know if we have a lot of exposure on the city's part.
We'll just have to stop traffic for a couple hours, but that's no big deal there.
And I guess if you drop it on the bridge or do something like that, then
No, we're gonna get Jay Courier to show us how to drop it.
It's only going the way it's leading. It's not really going the other way.
you know, I've watched too many videos where that doesn't always work out, okay? I don't have any problem with it.
We'll fall
if
to
we
the,
don't.
we'll fall to the roadside.
Okay, do it right.
I agree, I've taken trees down and they fall into the way.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen houses.
I don't wanna know.
No, this is a pretty safe place to drop it, I mean, it's lazy.
Yeah, because if it blows over, then it's gonna really create a huge problem.
Is there any firewood in that?
I don't think, sometimes you want to see what license is on.
I know.
That's what I was thinking.
But
Yeah.
that's $5,000.
Seriously,
Yeah.
let's, think about this for a little bit. When you get to your lawyers groups, you know, bounces off, yeah. I've gotten to the point where what's the worst that could happen is how I start
Yeah.
every thought. And, you know, like your whole list and.
Well, you gotta do something, because if it goes
Oh, you
over,
know, worse.
Why not let the,
Who took the trees down at the park? Avista?
oh, that ain't gonna do this.
Okay. Do a little bit of,
I'll look at tree people.
yeah, do your due diligence if you would, okay?
it's gonna be what, how much for it? Like, out on a limb to take it, it's not cheap, they're local people. It's not, it's a couple $1,000 to take it down, wouldn't it?
I don't know.
Well, we have Andy in town that keeps them.
Yeah.
Why not have the volunteers do it if they know what you're doing?
Get licensed and bonded and then you can have that.
Yeah, like I wanna do that for a living.
All right. Okay, we're done. Approval of vouchers, minutes, or excuse me, minutes have been approved. Approving of the bills. Accept the motion.
I make a motion we approve of the bills.
Minute moved.
Second.
Mike second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Is there any reason to go to executive session tonight, people? Not that we can think of. This moment, I will accept the motion to adjourn.
I make a motion we go home.
Dave? Mike second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Thank you. So.